Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In this video, I'm putting together my Project Life spread for the week of May 14th through May 17th, 2025, and this is the last spread in our most recent travel. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so this week is the last week of our trip. So if you've been following along on my channel or on my Instagram, I share my Project Life process videos here, and I share photos of my Project Life spreads over on Instagram. And I do a spread about each week. While traveling though, I've done more than one per week because I wanted to do a different spread for each destination. The first three destinations were Seattle, Portland, Oregon, and then San Francisco. And then for this last spread, I have a couple of destinations that are a little bit smaller, but I wanted to wrap them into one spread because I felt like none of them were big enough for their own. And I wanted to use some of the products from the Q&A Storyteller Kit from Ali Edwards. So I planned out this project in the Q&A Storyteller classroom. So if you are a subscriber over there, you can head over there and see my sketch and my initial thoughts on this layout. I am not going to share the sketch with you guys here because that is in that paid content, but I'm going to share with you kind of how this one comes together and look at kind of my thought process as I'm putting it together and adapting my spread. So the main kind of jumping off point for this were these 4x6 cards, which I believe came as part of a 12x12 paper like this. I'm probably in a different color order, and I cropped them down to be 4x6 cards. So I want these to be journaling cards to tell my story of this week. So I've got two 9x12 layouts, and then I have this insert, which is a 6x12, and I'm gonna have both sides of this to include more. So I wanted to include this because, like I said, there's more going on this week or in this spread than in my previous ones, which were one destination each. And this gives me the opportunity to have more 4x6 pockets for these 4x6 cards. So I made some notes as I was editing and printing my photos to kind of figure out which ones were going to go with what cards, what photos and stories were going to go with which of these cards. So I have 6 cards here, so I need 6 stories. So I decided to do one that is going to be like an overview card. I'm not sure the colors yet. I'm just going to put one and then I will rearrange it as I go. So that one was going to go right up here at my start. So I'm kind of having this go chronologically left to right. I also had planned this card here to be my title card. And I was thinking of maybe putting like one of these hearts on there or something. So I did put some hearts in here to work with and some other little like circular die cuts, which I thought would be cute in here as well. So I do have this here. I'm thinking maybe like this heart on here, and then I might put a label to put my dates. And then I need another card here, and this is documenting Yosemite. And then, so the first stop we made was going to Yosemite, and Yosemite was also kind of close to my heart because my grandmother worked there when she was younger than I am now in the 1940s. And I have some photos from that. So this card specifically is going to tell the story of her and recreating those photos. And this one's going to tell the story of our visit and kind of what we did. So I have my photos piled up over here that I just cropped out, and I'm going to start kind of laying them out. So these are not, so this is from Yosemite, and this is from Yosemite. And these are the ones of me with my grandmother. So what I did for these, I actually had more than just these two, but these were my 2 favorites. So I had some photos of her from the 1940s, and I'm going to get more details exactly on those when I write them out. I have the exact like month and year. And I'm gonna put that on here. And then I tried my best to recreate the photos. There were a few other ones. There were some I could not recreate. I couldn't figure out where she was, or I couldn't get to there. Like I said, she worked there. I was there for one day. So she probably had access to places that the public can't go. And she also had more time to just go on all of the trails. And it was much colder when I went. She was in August. I was in May. You can see I'm still wearing a hat and a coat. She's not. She's in like shorts. So I took the photos and I found a few of them. This one is this big tree with these rings showing the age of trees. And I found she had this photo in front of it. You can't even really tell what it is or read it. But once I saw it, I knew it was that. And there were trees there. They clearly cut the trees down, but this is the same. And you can see the sign probably has been updated. You can't really read it in her photo, but I recreated that one. And then this one, she was standing up on the top of the mountain, and I'm blanking on the name, Glacier Point, that's what it is. So we were at the top of Glacier Point, and you can see they've replaced the railing, but I'm pretty sure we're in about the same spot because the mountain curve looks the same. She was taller than me, and also the person who took the photo was clearly like lower compared to mine, but I still thought that was a pretty neat recreation. So I was happy about those, and I want to journal about that on here. I'm not sure if I want the pink one though. Might actually want like the gray one. No, that's too, the blue, but then I probably don't want this blue. I'm thinking, I don't know. I'll figure out the colors as I go. Okay, so then I need the rest of my Yosemite pictures right here. And then on the back of this, I'm just gonna slide that over. I have my visit with my parents to Visalia, which is where they live. So they live at the base of Sequoia National Park. So on the back of this, I have one photo of me there. I didn't end up taking any photos with my parents. I wanted to, it just didn't happen. So what I ended up doing was just printing. I have a couple of photos from Visalia, the coffee place we went, me with the sign, and then my parents have a giant tortoise. So I took a picture of him as well. And then we went to Sequoia National Park, which is the last section I have here. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do was split one of these to go over here with journaling. And I just want to make sure that this is the color I want over here. I really don't like this color, but I could go here. I like the green over here. I like this blue here with. Okay, I think that's gonna be it. So this side, this is an overview of kind of the rest of our trip and our traveling. This is gonna be about us visiting Yosemite and what we did there. This is gonna be about my grandmother in Yosemite. This is going to be about visiting my parents, and then this is kind of what we did in Visalia. So I'm having a separate one for my parents because this is the first time my boyfriend's met them. And just, you know, I haven't seen them since pre-COVID, so I wanted to kind of document that separately. And then another one of just like, here's the facts of what we did. And then for Sequoia National Park, I'm gonna end up just splitting this in half to fit into two of these 3x4 pockets. So I'm gonna go ahead and crop this one down. And I think I like it sort of like that. I apologize if the sun is getting in the way a little bit here. And then I'm thinking I don't want this to be in the corner. Maybe I'll put this in the middle. I don't know. We'll see, something like that. And I'm gonna get something like a filler. Let's see, I still have quite a bit of pieces of this kit. So I'm looking at like the vellums and stuff. Obviously I don't want that one with this heart. I want something more neutral. And I feel like the vellums from this kit aren't going to work. But I also still have my the fun Storyteller Kit. And I'm thinking I have this one. And that might be a good just to cut something to be a base for that. Now, of course, that would make me have like a transparent piece on the back, but I might be able to work with that. And if I can't, I could always just back this with white paper. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna crop this down. So this is a 12 by 12 vellum. And what I'm gonna do is cut it into a 9 by 12 and a 3 by 12. So the 9 by 12 can go back in my stash and can very easily go as a full page still. So I'm not really using too much of it. And I can get my 3 by 4 card here. Okay. So this guy will go like on there as just a little decorative element. And then I have these guys have a little heart here. So I need to figure out kind of which photos I want to put these ones on, and then do my story, or my journaling is really the main thing. So what I want to do now is I want to do some stamping on each of these with like a title, partially just because I think that that's too much space for me to fill journaling wise, and I think we'll add a little more decoration. So I'm going to pick out a stamp set. Okay, so most of the Alphas Are Awesome stamp sets that I've gotten recently are too big for this, and I really hope that Allie makes more small ones, because I got these two and I love having small ones. I've been using this one a ton in my Week in the Life album. This one I haven't really used yet, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to decide which one will look the best with this font that I have here. I think this one might look really good with that. So I think I'm gonna use that one, also because I just haven't used it much yet. So what I'm gonna do is put you guys on the voiceover and get this one put together. Okay, so this one takes a little while, and that's mostly because there are a lot of repetitive, tedious tasks. So I'm going to speed this video up quite a bit in certain spots so that you don't have to watch me journal and stamp for a very long time. I think this portion of the video, the recording was almost an hour, and usually it's about 20 to 30 minutes. So this definitely took me much longer than another spread. But that is because there's a lot more journaling, there's a lot more stamping, and because I have an insert, so there's just more spread to make. So those are some things to keep in mind if you're trying to keep this project simple. So the first thing I'm going to do here is do some stamping, and my plan is to stamp one word on each of the cards, and I forgot which color went where, but I wanted to try to organize these in such a way so I could remember which card was supposed to have what word on it, because I want to stamp them all at once. And here you see I'm speeding it up significantly while I'm doing this stamping, because this does take a very long time to do. I like to stamp one letter at a time, and you can speed this up by stamping more than one letter at a time. But then you end up with the letters a little bit further apart than I want them to be. I like the control of stamping one letter at a time. So for me, that just works the best. I don't mind that it takes so long. You can see what I'm doing is stamping all of the words at once. So I can, for example, do the A 3 times in 3 different words, so that I don't have to change letters so much. And then just thinking about what letter I need to do next and what letter I can do multiple times just makes it a little more entertaining for me. Because I'm stamping multiple words at once, it is very easy to forget how to spell a word or to make a mistake. So what I always do when I'm doing this is write out the words on a sticky note or some other piece of scratch paper, so that when I am working on this, I just look at that to see what the next letter is, rather than trying to think about spelling the word, because I am definitely going to make a mistake when I'm doing 6 different words at once. So you can see here I finished a couple of them, and I'm just working through the others. So for all of these, what I decided to do was create just a 1 or 2 word title for that story that is going to be on that card. So I have California for the overview of our travels, Yosemite for our Yosemite day, Sequoia for our Sequoia day, Visalia for the days we were there. And then I have one last one that says Grandma Joyce on it. Actually, 2 more. I have one that says Grandma Joyce on it for the story about my grandmother working at Yosemite and the photos I wanted to recreate. And the one that says parents for visiting my parents, and specifically some thoughts on that. So again, what's taking a really long time in this spread is my handwritten journaling. and I wanted to have more journaling in this spread. I knew that going into it when I planned it. There's just a lot of space for journaling, and this is not typical for me in project life. I don't tend to add a ton of journaling because honestly, it's my least favorite part of working on project life. I do like writing and I like journaling, but I prefer to do my journaling kind of like in the moment in my Hobonichi Cousin or whatever I'm using as a journal at that point in time. I like to just kind of journal about whatever's in my mind rather than specific stories. Or if I am telling specific stories, I prefer to type it and use it on traditional layouts. So for project life, I tend to not do a ton of journaling, but I wanted to for this spread because I wanted to use this kit and I really loved the way these cards looked and I just felt like it fit this story. There was a lot to say. And so I decided to do a lot of journaling. Because I'm doing a lot of journaling and it is handwritten, my hand is going to get tired of writing and I'm going to get bored of writing. So what I'm doing is doing one journaling card at a time and then moving on to something else in the spread to give my hand a rest and my brain a rest between the different journaling cards. So you can see I did that one about California first, and now I'm moving on to Sequoia. So I'm not doing them in order, just in order of what I'm feeling like. This card I cut in half because I wanted it to fit in 3x4 pockets rather than 4x6. I think it completely works like this. You can use these as two totally separate journaling cards or do what I did where I have them kind of go together. But the left side is like a column and the right side is the second column in the reading. So you don't read across both cards at once, if that makes sense. I added these die cut pieces across the spread. And so I decided to start adhering them down, including this heart on this vellum piece. I talked about this a little bit in the introduction, but my plan for this vellum piece is to leave it transparent like this. And when I work on the next spread, to make it work on that spread. So the spread that's going to be behind this is using the Stories by the Month kit from May. And I think I can probably make that work using the back of this and just kind of finding something that will fit that heart shape, whether I'm cutting out paper or finding another die cut or something similar shaped that can be on the back of it. I'm working on just adhering these things in place as I go. And I pulled over some word phrase strips from my stash in white to add to some of those die cut pieces, just to the two hearts. I think I end up adding one on one of the photos as well. I just wanted something else on this spread. It seemed a little bit plain, but my goal with this layout was really to focus on the words in the photos. So I'm totally okay with it not having a ton of embellishment because this was a very time consuming spread because I'm focusing on the journaling. And that's something I love about Project Life. Each spread gives you the opportunity to try something new or focus on something different. So this week I'm really focusing on the journaling, and the next spread I might focus on the photos. Another one I might focus on some embellishing and just doing something different each week. It's just a ton of fun to me. So if you guys haven't noticed, this is probably my priority project when it comes to scrapbooking and wanting to get it done. And sharing these spreads with you guys on YouTube definitely helps keep me accountable as well. I remembered I had these stickers in my stash from Kelly Perky's shop, which has now been closed. I can't remember if these are from Kelly Perky or from Paper Person, her second shop. But they were national park related. And so I thought it was just too perfect. I needed to use one on here. So I added one onto this card about my grandma. And I felt like the colors worked, and it worked to just kind of take up a little bit more of the space. I really liked the way these cards looked, but I felt like they were a little bit plain. I could have added some embellishing. Looking at it now, I feel like it would be very cute to add some washi tape across the top for along the edge of the half circle, except for where it says details, to add just a little bit more decor. But I'm not going to go back and add anything else. I just ended up adding the decor on this one, and I think that worked, especially because I did the stamping, which added a little bit more of interest to these cards and also helped fill the space. Although I found as I was journaling, I was kind of running out of room on quite a few of the cards. I actually had a lot to say. As far as my writing, I am currently using a fountain pen. This is a Lamy Safari, and it is the medium nib because it is a lefty, and that is the only size nib that they create the lefty nib in. I would prefer a fine, but it does work. And it has a gray ink in it from Ferris Wheel Press. And I've been really enjoying this one for some journaling. I've been using it in my Week in the Life album. And so because I've been working on that simultaneously, it was just available and easy to use to work on this spread. And I just liked the idea of using it here as well. I am going ahead and slipping the photos and cards into the pockets as I go. I'm doing this because I have an insert and there's just so much on my desk. It helps to have them in the pockets because you can push them off screen. I also want to do it because I do have sticky notes on some of my photos for privacy reasons, and it's nicer to put those in the pocket and put the sticky note on the outside of the page protector so that it doesn't get kind of gummy on my photo. I find that if I leave it on there for just maybe like 20 minutes or so, it's okay. But if I start leaving the sticky note directly on the photo for longer, it does start to leave a residue. This journaling card here is about Visalia, which is the town that my parents live in, and I lived in for the end of high school and my young adult life. And so I'm journaling just about visiting the town. I haven't been back since 2020. And just kind of, I wrote out what we did the days that we had there, which were like the half day after Yosemite, the half day after Sequoia, and then one full day to visit my parents. This card here, I'm journaling specifically about visiting my parents. This is the first time I'd seen them since pre-pandemic, which is probably the longest I've ever gone in my entire life without seeing them. And just some thoughts on my boyfriend meeting them for the first time and just visiting in general. The last thing I wanted to do was add a tab, and I had done this a little bit off camera, so I brought it over so you could see, but I have my stamp organization binder here, and I have a category in there called label sentiments, and these are essentially sentiments that fit onto Avery index tabs. And I pulled some over from my stash based on looking at this index in my stamp binder to come up with a few that I wanted to use, and I just stamped them directly onto the insert that comes with the Avery Index tab, and I'm going to slip it in there and add it to this insert. I like to do that whenever I have an insert because when you're flipping through the album, sometimes it's easy to miss seeing the insert because it's, divided page protector layered on top of divided page protector. And this way it's easier to tell that there's something there to turn and to grab it and see the back side as well. That is going to wrap up this spread. It is a simple one, but it's got a lot of words and a lot of photos, and I really like how it turned out. Here's that look at the left-hand side and then the right-hand side. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.